Kaleido fans, welcome back to another episode of Digital Marketing Tips, and this week we're going to be talking about subject lines, and more specifically how to write subject lines that will get more opens and then ultimately hopefully drive them into an email message that's going to get you some conversions. I have with me Samantha. She's one of our account managers here at Kaleido, working every single day with clients on these real issues. And then my name is Bill Rice. I'm the CEO here at Kaleido. So let's dig into subject lines. So you wrote a blog post recently, 10 ways to get higher open rates with just the subject line. Yep. I think so often people forget this. I can't tell you the number of times I'll get clients or people that want me to take a look at an email campaign and they'll say, hey, what do you think of this? And they forget to actually tell me what the subject line is.
Right. They're so focused on, the actual content of the email, which is important, but you have to remember the first thing that the viewer is going to see in their inbox is that subject line.
Yeah, that is your ante, right? That's the pay to play. You got to get that right, and so you should spend. I know we often, we'll write 3 or 4 or 5 of these before we actually settle on the one that kind of goes out, and then of course A/B testing. But anyway, let's go through each of these 10 points and kind of highlight specifically, as you did in your blog post, what we're talking about. So. Point number 1, less is more, 8 words or less if possible. So kind of talk through that, less is more.
So what you want to do with this essentially is just keep it short and sweet. You want to let them know right off the bat, this is what this email is going to provide you, and this is what you should expect from it.
Right. And I always tell people, just think about this. If you were to send an email to somebody, you wouldn't hammer out a big long message.
Right.
We have some friends that like to put the whole message in the subject line, but generally you're going to kind of keep it short and sweet. So that makes a ton of sense. I kind of like this one, number 2. People like emojis. I think this is a blend and a sort of something that's coming over from social media. So How are you seeing that kind of work out?
Well, there's often a misconception, emojis will come off as unprofessional or people won't take it seriously, but the data is there to support that it has shown some higher open rates.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, people are getting more and more familiar with what kind of emojis mean or the signals. And so, I know that we've tried a few, just putting the little video camera in there to insinuate, hey, there's a video inside is really kind of interesting. Tips and tricks and stuff like that, kind of the fire and the flame. So there's all kinds of things that are starting to actually give people a quick and easy understanding of kind of what's inside for them and whether or not they need to pay attention. Step number 3, make sure that the subject line and the preview text coincide with each other. So I think a lot of people probably don't think about the preview text or even know what it is. So tell us a little bit, what are you talking about when you say subject line and what is the preview text?
Sure. So when you go to your inbox, obviously the first kind of bolded line of text that you see is the subject line, and then after that there's that little snippet of more text that just kind of leads in further, just kind of insinuating to get you to read more, essentially. Right. Like the title right off the bat is going to say 5 ways to do such and such better, and then the preview line, for instance, would be this week we look at, and it kind of just trails off to kind of get you to want to click and find out what they say. Right.
And what if you forget that? We've seen that, and that's just kind of can get messy, right? If you forget that, it starts to just put garbage in there. Or sometimes even if you got a really nice HTML email, you'll actually see HTML code slide in that. So,
and that's not what you want because they'll think it's spam.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the entire thing you want to avoid.
Yeah. So find that in whatever your email service provider is. Find out where that little preview text box is, and make sure you fill it out so that it is intentional. Okay. Number 4. I think this is another one that we often don't think about and can immediately alert you to spam or maybe even just professional marketer, and that's Casein. So what do you do with Casein?
So Casein is essentially when, you take the first letter of each word and you capitalize it or uncapitalize it, but a lot of people think for emails, you should do it the same way as like a book title and capital each word, but that's not the case. Right. That can potentially come across as, spammy.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, so important.
Keeping it conversational casing is what's recommended.
Yeah, and we'll just keep reinforcing the fact that you're writing like you would to a friend or a family member or just even somebody in the office, right? You do a quick email in the office, you're not going to do that kind of capital casing or camel casing. Okay, number 5, hone in on words and phrases statistically proven to increase open rate. What are some of those?
I just pulled like a list of some like easy, quick, now like just action verbs, that just kind of promote some excitement.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important. People are always looking for the simple way. They're looking for a short list. We have so many things going on, and we're always wrestling with the amount of time we have. So just insinuating that this is going to be, I know when we first kind of started doing emails, I would often do like 10 steps. Now, more and more, I'm doing like 3, just so they feel like, okay, I'm not going to get into this long list. I just got a couple little things that I can take. So really giving them some understanding of how much time it will take, or even telling them this is only going to take a second. Okay, so number 5, include strong verbs and keywords to send a powerful message.
Yeah, so think about being that person who's opening the email. What would get you to want to learn more, and just kind of put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
That's essentially what I was trying to prove with that.
Yeah, totally. Action. Give people, again, the subject line is really preparing them to understand what they're going to get and why that would be valuable. So action is so important. Number 6, probably none of us do this enough, but split testing. What does split testing kind of look like, and what are some things you should focus on?
So split testing would be sending out 2 or 3 different emails with different subject lines, and then with that you essentially can figure out which one it is it going to actually work better.
Right.
So
I think a lot of the email service providers make this easy for you, but if they don't, kind of the best way to do this is to take, this is kind of our best practice, is take about 20% of the list, and you're going to send those 2 subject lines if we're testing subject lines. So 10% is going to get this and 10% is going to get that.
Right.
Once you kind of have the winner or the champion, then you take that champion and you apply it against the remaining 80% of that list. So if you have to do it manually, you can still do that. Create a segment, 20% of the list randomly, and do it on your own. But a lot of the emails, service providers will allow you to do an A/B test, and they'll do all that math for you. Number 7, convey a sense of urgency or action.
Mm-hmm. So with this, you just want to essentially come across as, if they don't take the time to view your email, they're going to miss out on something really important.
Right.
You want to emphasize, like, act now, like, this is the latest and greatest, know.
Right. And then I think you have to be kind of careful with this one. You should actually determine what's creating the urgency, and what should make them feel urgent about this. Maybe there's some scarcity. Maybe there is something actually going around. But try not to be disingenuous or to kind of overhype this. An overuse of exclamation points. I hate this all the time when everybody's promoting something or an event. It's always the greatest thing ever, but they don't really tell you what makes it great. So make sure you don't make that too kind of hokey. You get a specific reason why this should be urgent, or they need to take that action. Number 8, use announcements and invitations. This can kind of flow from that, right? That could be the urgency.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think, again, also thinking as you move kind of through the cycles of the season, those sorts of things that you have happening in your organization, or critical points, maybe even in a buyer's journey. When do people buy certain things? And so kind of using those announcements and invitations as a trigger to get them to reopen if they haven't been opening. Leverage, number 9, leverage a pain point. So this is probably the best way to get something open, right?
Right. So one example I use with this is just you basically writing out 2 different examples, and just it's the best way to describe it. One was, 5 best ways, or 5 best practices with fonts. A way to leverage the pain point version of this would be 5 mistakes you're making with fonts and why you should avoid them.
Right. Oh, super clever. Yeah, just actually highlighting, even making people aware that they could be.
Yes, because they'll see that and think, oh, am I doing something wrong, Right.
Yeah. No, that's super clever. I love that. And we're always trying to kind of solve our pain, or even just giving us a subject line that leads me to believe that you understand kind of where I'm coming from or what I do, I think is super powerful. Okay, number 10, the final one, answer or ask a provoking question.
Yes, so I guess another best way to explain this is just present 2 examples. So here's a subject line that would just say, these are ways to drive traffic to your website. And a way to do this in a nice engaging question would be, have you implemented these key strategies to better drive the traffic to your website? You know, just create that sense of wonder.
Right. You're creating a little FOMO there. Like, am I missing something out?
Exactly.
Right? So,
Exactly.
And I think that's super important to really also, even when you're writing something, especially email, so often we just kind of get in a rhythm and we're just pumping out emails, but to really intentionally think about what would make someone eager to understand or open this email, and doing a little bit of extra work on your end to think about those things in your business, those things in your product, or those things in your service that people would actually have an urgency or curiosity to find out about and wouldn't want to miss. So we hope that this has been helpful and kind of tuning up your subject lines. Encourage you to look at all the other videos on the Kaleido channel. We do these each and every week. And so if you're finding some value from this and you would like to make sure that you're seeing each and every one of these, we encourage you to subscribe, hit that notification button, and you will get notified each and every time we drop one of these videos, which is about once a week. So we'll see you next time.